So wait, you're telling me that Love is Indivisible by Twins is not a romance about a guy and his twin sisters? Well, that sucks. Oh, they're childhood friend neighbors. Okay, that's fine. We'll go with that. Anyways, jokes aside, I was very curious about the direction that Love is Indivisible by Twins would go in. What direction it would go with the two characters essentially being in love with this one guy that's their neighbor. If it's going to go the whole, like, they're switching identities thing so they can both go out with him. Is it going to turn to a massive harem? What? But I will say that based on the first 2 episodes of the series so far, I'm kind of intrigued by the direction in which it took in how to tell the story. Because so far we've gotten the full perspective of the 2 girls, but not the guy, which is kind of most of the time kind of the opposite what we typically get, which is kind of refreshing. But at the same time, I have no clue what this guy thinks about the whole situation. He sort of just seems like he's going with the flow. But yes, I've watched the first 2 episodes of the series, and I'm ready to start talking about my thoughts on it, so let's jump into it. Indivisible by Twins opens up when June first moves to his new home, and he meets his new neighbors. And yes, the neighbors have 2 sisters that are twins. And the perspective quickly goes to Roomie, one of the twin sisters. Now, she's very boyish, she's very tomboyish, she's very athletic, she's very outgoing. And yes, very quickly, she falls in love with June. But unfortunately for her, it does seem like June likes talking to Nari, her sister, more than her. It seems they have a lot of commonality because the 2 of them are just kind of geeks. They like reading a lot of books, so they like talking about books a lot. So no matter how much Roomie is trying to get his attention, she kind of fails at it. Well, later on, as they grow up and they go into high school, Roomie, knowing that her sister loves June, feels like she's going to miss her opportunity with June and decides to confess to him that she wants to go out. Now, she does it under the guise that she's trying to experience love before they get too old, and she just wants to test it out. Not that she's in love with him or anything like that, but she, of course, knows that he can see right through this. So they start going out together until eventually she realizes that she's done something wrong. She feels like snatching up June was really mean to her sister. And respecting her wishes and desires, she decides to break up with June so the 2 of them can get together. In breaking up, she tells June, "Please do me one more favor as your girlfriend before we break up. Please ask out my sister. Nari loves you, please ask her out." Well, cutting forward, there doesn't seem like there's any signs of this happening. Like, Nari hasn't said they're going out yet, June hasn't done anything yet, so she's kind of wondering what the hell's happening. That's when we change perspectives to Nari, which Nari is the bookworm. She's the one that's very educated. She's very much so a nerd and all this kind of stuff. And yes, this did lead to her kind of being bullied a little bit in school, which she kind of fell for June because he would always step in and kind of resolve the situation in a very mature way. But yeah, she's always liked June, even to the point where she kind of throws tests just to not outdo him and whatnot. And upon finding out that Roomie is now dating June, she's very supportive of Roomie. She does everything that she can to assure her and support her, gives her outfits, shows her how to doll herself up, all while, yes, at the same time, giving the indication that she's not really happy about this. This all leads to eventually June fulfilling what Roomie wanted and asking Nari out, which they seem to have a lot of fun together because they're just both dorks, and so they geek out about Star Trek and whatnot. It turns into a whole stupid Star Wars versus Trekkie thing. And that kind of wraps things up so far as June is now with Nari, and yes, it obviously seems like Roomie is not really happy about giving up June. It just seems like she wanted to not ruin what was between her and her sister. So my thoughts on Love is Indivisible by Twins so far. I'm very mixed on this show, and it's mainly because while I do love the fact that they showed us fully perspective what Roomie thinks about June, what Nari thinks about June, what Roomie and Nari think of each other being with June, I got their 2 sides of the situation. I don't get June, and I don't get the connection so far with June and the other 2 because things keep skipping forward. We spent half an episode on Roomie. I get it. I get why she likes him. And then I'm breaking up, which is kind of nasty. And then we get Naori's perspective. I get why she likes him, this whole growing up situation, and then eventually going out with June. I get it. That makes sense. I get both of their perspectives. But I don't get their relationship with June, and I don't know yet what June thinks about the situation. At first, I really thought that June was just going along with it as a bookworm, and he didn't really have any feelings for them whatsoever. Because it really does feel like he's like this bookworm guy that is very distant. The girls come over and hang out with him while they were growing up, but he always, kind of fed into them, but at the same time, he wanted to focus on his book. He's a nerd. And then suddenly out of nowhere, he's dating one of them, and I'm like, okay, it seems like he just kind of goes along with it just to please her. And then at the end of it, he's like, wait, we can't break up. And it's like, wait, what? This skip forward kind of ruined it for me. I don't really get how much June likes Roomie because you didn't show me them being together. So it almost feels like the story is saying, just believe me, bro. They are really close and he really likes her. That's the struggle that I'm having. And even going into episode 2, I still don't get June. June is, I think, the biggest mystery in this, which, yes, is kind of nice that for once we get more perspective of the female character in the cast rather than the male character, because typically with romance series, it's always from the male perspective, and we just have to get a sense from the female characters by what they say or how they move. My only hope is that going in the further episodes, we'll finally get his perspective and actually see, hey, did he even pay attention to these girls? Did he really like them? Or was he just kind of nerding out with Nari or whatever? So far, I do like the cast. I don't have a problem with June. Don't get me wrong. He seems fine. Again, he's very much a nerd. And I think he is kind of considerate about the two of them. Roomie, I struggle with. I struggle with Roomie. I think she's cute. I like her story. The idea of her being kind of the outsider really is what it is. Roomie is the outsider. She is the outsider that for once in one of these stories is the one that takes action first. Roomie is very outgoing. She's into sports, while as June and Nari are bookworms. They're into movies. They're into geekdom. They're into books, all that kind of stuff. So Roomie is kind of a third wheel. But yes, like I said, unlike most of these stories, she's the one that takes action first. She sees, I'm going to miss my opportunity here. June and Nari, they talk all the time. They get along. I need to take action now. And she wins. But the unfortunate thing with her story is that, and the thing that I kind of struggle with, is at some point she just says, look, I don't want to break up my friendship that I have with my sister, and I know she loves June, so she's basically sacrificing herself. She's going to take one for the team, and so she breaks up with June after he seemingly falls in love with her. And that's kind of that struggle that I have with her character, is while I understand why she does what she does, that's kind of a jerk move. Like, she literally just went into this, let's try it out. And then eventually, I guess the guilt just kind of overtakes her. Like, she just feels guilty that she took something from her sister. But at the same time, it's like, but you're also playing with this dude's heart. It kind of feels really nasty. Again, I understand why she does what she does, but at the same time, it's kind of a jerk move. Nari, I love. I think that she's just absolutely perfect for June, mainly the idea they both like something similar. They're both geeks. They like talking about things. Their chemistry is so much better. And this is where I kind of struggle with that whole time jump they had, is I don't understand Roomie's chemistry with June. I would assume that a lot of it has to do with her being able to show him something outside, like take him out of his comfort zone and make him more outgoing, but I don't understand their chemistry. Whereas Nari and June, I get their chemistry. You get these nice little shots of them just geeking out and talking about things. While they don't share a lot of likes, they talk about it. And so you do get that chemistry between the two of them. Nari's also very more ladylike, so she's much more promiscuous, she's much more teasy, she likes to get things out of June all the time, which obviously creates the question mark of where the show goes from here. And I think that's my question mark that I have the most. I can see this going one of three routes. The first one is the harem. The two of them finally decide at some point, why can't we both have June? And then they go to June and June goes, okay, but we have to keep it a secret. And then we have a harem. The second route, which I don't think they can possibly do, is the idea of them swapping places in order to go out with June. So he'll be going out with Nari right now. And then at some point, Roomie will disguise herself as Nari and go out with June, which I think can be equally as nasty in the idea. If you really think about it, I mean, everybody else is like, yes, we're watching anime, we're all for it, whatever. He gets two girls without knowing that he has two girls. But obviously the implications of that is kind of wrong in the idea that Roomie is never actually ever with June. She is just experiencing June through Nari, which I don't think they can do for two reasons. One, they have already established that June can tell the difference between the two of them. They say that not even my parents sometimes can tell the difference. But June, he can. But two, yes, they're completely different in personality and their likes. Nari, again, is a massive geek. She has a massive amount of knowledge and books and whatnot. Roomie doesn't. Roomie, again, is very outgoing and she's very sporty. She doesn't have the knowledge that Nari does. So it would be shocking if June couldn't pick up on that. Like, suddenly out of nowhere, Nari doesn't want to talk about this book or that book. The third route they can go with, and I think this is the one they're flagging the most, and I really don't like it in a sense. And again, most of that has to do with the fact that they did a time skip. June is going to get back with Roomie. There was a lot of emphasis given when Roomie broke up with June that she obviously wasn't happy with having to break up. She was just kind of sacrificing herself for the happiness of everybody else. And typically with stories like that, it always comes back to them. Eventually, Nari will feel bad knowing that Roomie liked him. June is never going to stop thinking about Roomie. And it's going to be one of the situations that despite everything being so perfect between June and Nari, again, their chemistry is amazing. They have a lot to talk about. They're always just chatting away about things. It's going to turn to one of those things where opposites attract, and the idea that June and Roomie are very different, and he's going to like her more. I just honestly feel like with the title itself, it sort of just implies to me that they're going to both be with him at some point. It's just one of those sad realities that sometimes the title just gives too much. Now, to get into my negatives, I find a lot of this show kind of boring, and a lot of that has to do with a lot of the geekdom that they get into. I just don't care for. I mean, yes, I know Star Wars, I know Star Trek, I know Trekkie versus Star Wars disputes, which I kind of got a little bit of chuckle out of this show, but I'm not deep into those things. So a lot of the geek jokes and discussions I don't care. Like, I know what it's doing, but I just don't care. There's a lot of talk about different novels and different books and all this kind of stuff, a lot to do with the conversations that have with the characters, which does technically make it feel a lot more natural and real, but at the same time, a lot of that stuff, again, kind of goes over my head. So a lot of the moment-to-moment in this show so far has not really worked out for me, even though I do kind of get the chemistry that it's kind of portraying. Again, like I said earlier, my biggest want right now is the perspective of Jun, because I don't really fully understand if he likes these two girls, what his feelings are in the situation, because again, it felt like he kind of just went with Roomie just to kind of play into what she wanted, but then kind of getting the shock that she wants to break up, and then he just kind of shrugs and goes along with the idea of going out with Nari. So I don't fully understand what he truly feels, and I think that's going to go into that he's never going to forget about Roomie. But again, we'll see. That's my thoughts so far on the series. I'm not like fully engaged in it. I think the character designs and the art's good so far, but at the same time, I don't know that this show is going to go in the direction that's going to be satisfying, I guess is the thing to say. I just feel like it's going to be a very unsatisfying show, especially with only a single core, but we'll see. We'll see what direction it goes, but for now, who do you think? Are you Team Roomie or are you Team Nari? I'm Team Nari because, again, I can't give up on... That was kind of a mean move that Roomie made with him. I don't hate her, but at the same time, and I fully understand her, but that was kind of a jerk move. If he ends up going back to Roomie, it's going to be like, really, dude? After she did that? I mean, you could be friends and whatnot, but really? Plus, Nari's cute. I like the longer hair. I don't like the short hair thing. But anyhow, let me know what your team is. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe before you leave. Additionally, if you want to support the channel, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate everybody does. Until next time, y'all take care.